You know, trying to find new critique targets has been hard for the last month or so, due to many changes happening with some targets and stuff like that. But I got something very spicy to make up for that. Like, really spicy. So stay tuned for that critique, which is happening in a few seconds. Also, happy belated Halloween special as well. I just thought I had to mention that since I'm likely not going to get this out by Halloween. Probably like early November. So yeah, come in and enjoy the video. Sup everyone, Spacey here, and today we'll be covering a certain user who has become rather infamous over the past few months. John, the TV show's fan, or otherwise known as John the American Dude. He was someone who was rather close to my circle of critiquers, mostly Automagic Critics server, which Automagic is a great person by the way, and you should subscribe to him, and clearly was the oddball of the server. But as time went on, he started to be really embarrassing as he infested other servers. It was reaching a point where people were getting very annoyed at him and the content he produced. Like Bracket Neutron 37's DA Special 3, a great video, and you should also subscribe to Bracket as well. And despite being an outsider to his shenanigans for the most part, which I'm a little shocked by since I made my own content, and John likes to associate with people I am friends with, so he couldn't encounter me at that point. He has more than enough content for a video, so let's not waste any more time with his backstory and cover the odd case of John, a TV show fan. So the first account we have is his DeviantArt account, John the TV show fan 1001, created around 9 months ago, and based on the banner he has, this is gonna be one hell of a user page. I like cartoons and entertaining others. Oh boy, we're getting into one of these people, aren't we? His real art is something to behold, and I'm going to reveal it now because you're not ready to handle this. 3, 2, 1... Yes, his drawings are that bad. Now where to start with this? Well, what we have here is a pure train wreck. Pun maybe intended. The bad line work with zero prep, the rush coloring with most of it having a white void as the background, and when he does have a background it gets very bad. The mediocre camera with zero attempt at scanning or digital art, and most importantly the traced or heavily referenced since this is traditional art. But he does such a bad job at tracing that it's laughable. It also reminds me of Hovis the Fangirl's drawings with the coloring and line work. But that was at least better there than it is here, since it's at least slightly more consistent than John's attempts. Seriously John, if you ever hope to continue with this cartoony style, start looking into actual tutorials in order to improve your style. Your style does have a very tiny potential, but with this art quality, it's never going to be reached, I'm sorry. Drawings aren't the only thing John does in his spare time. We also have memes like this. If YouTube were to fix their fair use system, that would be great. Hey John, you know the fair use problem was mostly fixed, and that there are way worse issues on YouTube now? Yeah, he's still stuck with the past of his takes, like these two for example. There are worse users than Anthony Legato. John, you do know that people have moved on from him as a person, and his only real use as a phrase to describe people who make fun of all cows, while also having humiliating traits as well. Like you, John. Also gotta love how this was labeled as a controversial opinion, like the people were definitely gonna disagree with that take. He is also a consumer, as well, as seen by this. Looking forward to something you want to get released, only to find out the product has got cancelled. Something I'm sure a lot of us can agree on. For me, these were products that I was looking forward to seeing in stores, yet were cancelled for release. Like me, it would be more of the Loud House toys or the Thomas Wood Frankie. I was really looking forward to them, only to find out they were cancelled from production. I can accept TV shows getting cancelled, but for toys or any products I was looking forward to getting, it's hard for me. Also, no John, you shouldn't get this upset about Toy Line getting cancelled. That makes you look super petty and a crybaby. Especially since these are little toys, and nothing of real substance like a video game or a TV show. That she also mentioned, but it's apparently harder to deal with the canceling of a toy line apparently. Seriously, some series can't even get merchandise of their own. So, yeah, John, you gotta feel lucky that you're part of popular fandoms, and not super obscure ones like what I'm into. Also, what autistic interest? I know I'm looking like a hypocrite since I'm into baby shit, but the problem here is that John is making himself more pathetic and immature due to being upset about Thomas toys. Thomas toys. Something that should be heavily avoided is this kind of immaturity, because it only makes them look very, very pathetic. The best take of them all, though, is this one. Not all Karens are crabby and mean. It's true, I should know. No, John, it's not true, but it gets better from here. Let's look further into this take. Now, if you're most likely hearing the term Karen on the internet, well, I find it to be very overused and quite stereotypical for the following reasons. 1. I know 2 people personally who are named Karen, and they're very nice people to talk to. 2. Using it as an insult for women who are crabby or mean is very disrespectful to the ones who are kind and happen to be named Karen, like the aforementioned people I refer to. Seriously, do many people think that all women named Karen are just like Karen Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants? Because I obviously don't. In conclusion, this term is stupid, overused, stereotypical in general. Why many people still continue to use it, I may never know. Gee, it's almost like it's a name given to a rude, salty stereotype in order to vent about the hardships of being in a low-wage, dead-end job, and not something to insult people with a certain name. Also proves he does no research on the subject he's talking about, especially since he used Karen from SpongeBob as a reference for this thing. Honestly, quite sad if I'm being honest. Seriously, watch more Reddit videos, man. You'll at least get the stereotype a little bit better that way. Also gotta love the graphic designs by passion level stamps that Play evokes. Couldn't even be bothered to center the text and the dead space around the image. Yeah, this is a problem with all his stamps as well, including some railroad stuff, but I'm not tackling that because I'm not a rail fan. Also, one look at their favorites will show what kind of group John is in. Oh no. No. Ah, shit. Yep, typical stuff for these kind of people. So that's all we have to say about his DeviantArt, because there isn't really all that much to cover on that site. Not even any of the journals or train models are really all that interesting, but this is just one half to John's antics. So John has 2 YouTube channels under his belt. The first being John the TV Show Fan 1001, just like his DeviantArt name. This channel isn't all too special by his standards since it's just about to trade and shit, and very mediocre ones at that, from what I've seen from him. I'm not a rail fan though, so I can't really comment on that kind of stuff, but I do love this disclaimer. It's almost like he wants to be hit by Kappa, despite his distaste for it, and the unprofessionalism also makes it very funny. But then we go to his alternate channel, where the badness of John truly comes into play. John the American Dude 1997 is what this channel is called. This channel is meant for older audiences, which I don't really see the point of, since he could just put a different disclaimer and be fine, especially since the age ratings on these videos are inconsistent, but then we get to the view videos on there. Oh god, where to start? Update while script writing, it seems like John threw a curveball at us and changed up his second channel. Most of the stuff is the exact same, except he's done remakes of the John's Thoughts videos, or will be doing it. I don't know if he's gonna do it, but hey, I guess that's what time's for. It's gonna be mostly the same though, that's what I'm gonna likely assume. Even then, I feel like if he ever is gonna do the remakes, he should really take my criticism into account. Seriously, it's people like him and Jack Mugen doing mass shutdowns that makes it hard for me to do critiques on these types of people. But I still think of doing a critique on Jack Mugen soon, but that's a little bit off topic, so let's get back to the main video. First is 3 episodes of John's Thoughts, and while they do have some length to them, I think they can be summarized as either trying way too hard to be different by being neutral, and saying that they're being hated on too much, which is honestly a no-shit Sherlock statement, and since he has been known to alienate both Chris Chan and Eric Makrashek, this feels like he's backpedaling for sympathy. He's also getting way too upset about toy lines canceling themselves, to the point where he looks like he's about to cry at times. Honestly, this is very pathetic once again, as it's just a toy line, especially since they're so dinky and little and really hold down that much value. Sure, you can get disappointed by that, but the way you're handling things, John, is rather embarrassing and rather retarded. The rest of the videos on the channel are Drew Pickles videos. Now, if you haven't heard these videos yet, let me give you a quick crash course on these videos. Around 2010, someone had the bright idea to make Drew Pickles from the show Rugrats go to places and do edgy humor. It got somewhat popular, even to the point where some autists got in the action, even though these Drew videos were just trying too hard to be hip and cool with people like Clay Claymore and projecting their viewpoints on the people. Very much relics of their time, and thankfully, throughout May 2018, these videos died out and eventually became relics of their time, like how they should have from the beginning. But then John decided it was a good idea to do these videos in 2020. Yeah, John's Drew videos are very unfunny attempts to be edgy, along with the fact he's projecting his viewpoints onto us.
After waiting for what seems like waiting for the Loud House toy line to go back into production, that is only 5.7.4.1 seconds.
And especially his obsessions.
In order to get to the Strand Home Video logo, I will have to buy a Thomas VHS from eBay that contains the logo. I will wait a week for it to arrive in the mail and will pass the time by jacking off like a
It also might show some fetishes he has.
I love to make out with Sam Sharp and finger her pussy and shove dildos in her ass and queef in her face.
Out of all the videos he has, these are the worst that I've seen from him. But he gets worse mainly in terms of mentalities. But before we do that, let's go on to John's other social medias to see what else he's known for. Yeah, John is everywhere on the web, even in places where you would honestly never expect him to be. But first, let's look at his Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, since they have the least to talk about. Because while his Facebook is just his profile picture, and his Instagram basically has nothing, really shocked at that, his Twitter is a little bit more interesting. There is clout chasing, retweet if you like Melee Zhao from Overwatch, fucking Chinese simp. Random stuff, this is not a prank, I have changed my Discord tag, so if anyone wants to add me on there, I've changed it to John the TV Show Fan 1001, hashtag 0851. I felt that my original username was too long and I needed a consistent with my YouTube and DeviantArt accounts. And petition that's totes gonna get off the grounds, guys. Sign the petition. Keep the Loud House toys in production.
Would you please sign my petition?
Leave me alone.
Oh, there's also some more promotions. I have a Newgrounds. Click here to check it out. Yeah, now his Newgrounds exists. John the Cool 1001. Let's see that. Nothing special beyond one art piece, which is a very mediocre one like I mentioned before in my DeviantArt section. But there's also 2 posts as well, while the first is just his rules page. This recent one is a very interesting one. Let's read it. Thoughts on The Critic. Before you ask, no, I'm not referring to the Nostalgia Critic. This is an American primetime animated sitcom from the mid-90s, revolving around the life of a New York film critic, Jay Sherman, the titular character from the cartoon. Yeah, no one's gonna get confused, man. If you really were gonna clarify it, put it as The Critic, 1994. Anywho, and with my thoughts, I've seen bits and segments of the show, and I find it quite charming and entertaining as well. It's always quite underrated, and it only lasted from 1994 to 1995, and had ended with 2 seasons and 23 episodes total. My favorite characters are Jay Sherman and Alice Tompkins. I feel like it's a series that should make a comeback, perhaps a continuation. What an unimpressive review, with no detail given at all. It gives me way too much Super Jack 2020 vibes in order for me to feel satisfied with this. Rather sad. Rather sad. In fact, the Newgrounds in general is overwhelming. But there's also his Amino, which feels a little out of place for him since Amino is just an audience full of kids. Really feels man-childish to be in there. But at least there's something interesting with, yeah, knowing how much of a simp he is, I'm not shocked at this at all. Finally, in terms of extra social medias, is his Fur Affinity, where he is moving to after losing interest in DeviantArt. My departure from DeviantArt. I honestly am kind of split at this review. Half me would think he would be neutral on the Phantom and ignore it, while the other half of me is like, yeah, he seems like the kind of person to join it, to be honest. Do you plan on posting anything furry related to your Fur Affinity at some point, like Sonic the Hedgehog or Bugs Bunny? Oh fuck, John's gonna become a Philly Furro soon. Run away, run away. Well, it does seem on his Fur Affinity he has some exclusive images on there, so wowee, that's really interesting. Finally, before we move on, let's look at a journal. This one, specifically. Perfect Plan Drawings. Jay Sherman, the critic, going bowling. What's the difference? SpongeBob SquarePants shaped like Texas with Patrick Star. Tom's the Tank Engine. From the front, side, and back angles, Series 23 style. Hershey the Small Engine. From the front and the back angles, Series 23 style. My Loving Tomboy. Lenny Law goes to the mud puddle. Now and again, Fish from SpongeBob, Sandy, and the Worm. James in the Red Engine from front, side, back angles. Gordon, Emily, Mia, Rebecca, Sailor Moon with a big cake. Sunny the Samantha. John Wackman, Bugs Bunny smirking, Drew Pickles giving a thumbs up, Lincoln Loud under a rainbow. Wow, this totally doesn't remind me of a certain user in his drawings. It also doesn't totally play into my next section. Woo, how spooky is that? As we should have already established, John thinks he's a better person for hating on lolcows, but he himself is also a lolcow in his own right, basically being an A-log. For example, him having tons of toys in his room, he still lives with his mom, and most importantly, he's willing to do embarrassing stuff for the web. Let us also not forget the fetishes just for those extra lolcow points. Now, as much as Farhan was a suck-up in his own right, he at least knew to some degree that he shouldn't act like who he hated. John doesn't seem to have that skill, and thus makes himself even more embarrassing because of that hypocrisy. This also falls into that one type of person who I hate the most on the web. The I'm like the other blank person, or in this case, autistic person, since that's what most of these people tend to fall into. And not only he hates the mature user crowd, this makes him look even more embarrassing, since he shares a lot of the traits with that community. Now John, if you don't want to look like a mess, please try hard to improve yourself, or at least keep some of that stuff you have private. This kind of attention is why I assume he's also trying to run away to other platforms. This tactic isn't going to work forever though, and your refusal to improve despite what you said in your bio and stuff is going to be one of the reasons why people hate you. I know some of your haters are sometimes almost as bad, but you are part of the problem due to the problems I listed above, and the fact that despite your claim, you can't take criticism that is harsh or otherwise negative. So please try hard to improve, even despite you having autism. People have made easily sized projects of quality and are good users as well, even with the disability. Like me, for example, since I have autism. Yep, you just listened to an autist this whole time on the channel. Yeah. Also, make sure not to get offended when harsh critiques come up, as those types of haters either want you to improve, or want to see you yell and cry and scream at this kind of stuff. And you can't just live with fans, as the criticism tends to be biased and doesn't get down to the bad aspects of the problems that you need to solve. That's all I have to say on that front, and I don't want to get into the nitty gritty, since I am not that kind of person. So now let's end this travesty. So, John, I know you want to be a good person in life, and I could say that you're trying to. Hell, you can have a job, so that's a big step up from Christian, even if it's a minimum wage target job and isn't all that much better. The problem with you, however, is the lack of quality with your stuff, and the fact that you do the bad actions you badmouth other people for. Basically being an A-log. So learning to improve some more may help you in the long run. Look at tutorials for stuff you're interested in, and maybe I also suggest taking a break from the web, as I know that has stressed you out a lot, and I fear that anxiety might get to you IRL, since you look to be the kind of person who is addicted to the web. Avoiding coddlings from your mom and getting a mature life on your own will also be a vital step to not being like this pathetic. Same also applies to your interests, because as much as stuff like that interests people like you, I feel like place it way above other more mature stuff that may interest you. So that is all I have to say for the advice. So take the criticism, and hopefully you can use it to fix your life. Man, I was expecting things to get really bad, but it didn't get to that level as much as I expected. Believe me, future critiques of the delve into odder subject matters. Also, I'll drop the rating system with this, since I feel it's unfair to users that I don't like. I'll also keep rating some video game reviews, so you don't have to worry about that. But for now, this is Spacey. Goodbye, see you next time, and happy Halloween, or late Halloween depending on when this video comes out. So yeah, bye.